I began my next story, obviously, yesterday. And yet, today was the first time, though, that I heard a very, very, very familiar sound, which was the clacking of my keyboard. Um, a lot of the times when I was doing this outlining process, and when I was trying to figure out where I was going to go with this, there wasn't a lot of continuous typing, right? What you're doing basically is you're sort of making some small notes here and there, but it's not very long. You don't spend a whole lot of time typing out these very long sentences or just long spurts of writing, which for me are not really ever long spurts. I tend to take my time when I type something out, but today was the first time I actually heard a continuous clacking noise. It actually became noticeable, which was very exciting. It was the first time in a while that I felt sort of recognized that noise. Even when I was going through my edits and making these small changes, I mean I was making sentence word level corrections here. So you type out a couple letters basically. But here I was hearing actual full sentences. It was a very familiar noise, and it's one that I have sorely missed. So, it's the small joys. I mean, it really is like when you get into at this point. I think in the process, I think it's just a very much taking in just the small kind of enjoyments here of it. And clacking my keyboard happens to be a very sort of calming experience to listen to. One thing I should note, by the way, too, is I actually do use a mechanical keyboard. So I use one of I got this it's not old basically, but it's styled after those 1980s IBM style keyboards there. I think I think you'll be able to see them probably in some of them before. Some of my other videos, I'm sure you've seen the keyboard here. But I like that. I like the ones that are very much key fired, not necessarily the ones that are so laser focused, like the ones that the things like little lights basically that are in the keyboard, that when you type them, the very soft sort of ones. I hate that. I have to have a raised keyboard. The keys have to be raised up. It's gotta feel almost like a typewriter, really, when I use it. It's gotta be that way. Funny story, I actually purposely used to buy Lenovo ThinkPads. They're these very, very, very cheap, very slow operating laptops that are very, very cheap, thank God. But these cheap little things. But the reason why I was buying them is because they happen to have raised keyboards. They weren't like those flat little keys that you see on normal laptops here, which I absolutely hate. They're actually these nice raised keyboards, and they felt awesome. Felt very ergonomic on my wrist when I'm typing away. But more importantly, it's that nice feeling and sensation of typing a key. I cannot express how important having the right equipment is to the writing process, and that honestly includes having a good keyboard or having a correct keyboard. It's definitely not one of those luxury items that you sort of get well into the process. I really think you should, at the beginning, once you figure out how you best write. So if you write best with using word processor, right? Find out, okay, what kind of keyboard works best for you. Find out what kind of monitor works best as far as brightness goes, that you can see your whole page and you can get sucked into it. These are small things, but they make such a big, big, big difference. I spoke before about how my laptop, my desktop computer, up until basically halfway through this year, something like that, had never gone online before. I had it for several years, and I never went online. The reason why is I had taken out any kind of Wi-Fi drivers on it, simply because I didn't want any kind of distractions. I got this computer basically so that it could never go online. The reason for it, I could never go on social media. I could never be distracted. I've basically overcome my social media distractions at this point, which is a weird thing to say for a guy who has a YouTube channel, but I very rarely ever go on Facebook anymore. I'm not, usually perusing Instagram too often, certainly not on my computer. And I'm pretty good at when I'm on the computer for my writing. I basically jump in. It's taken a lot of time to condition myself to do that. Part of it is just writing every day and having that routine, but it's taken a very long time to sort of decondition myself from being just browsing the internet for any reason. And so with that, my computer for a long time just simply didn't have internet access to it. I finally got those installed later this year just because I had to send off emails, and I wanted to start getting my chess streaming on here as well. And it made uploading these videos way more convenient than just having to rely upon just my iPhone to do it. Kind of ironic. I was talking about avoiding distractions here, and I'm writing, and you can see on the screen here, I'm looking at a classic car on the screen here. My story basically involves actually, I'll just give a slight thing here. The story basically, very simply, is about a parade in the small town, but in like the main, sort of the main character basically has a classic 61 Chevy Bel Air, and I had to look at images of what a Chevy Bel Air looks like, just because there's a couple scenes basically where someone smudges like their hand on like the trunk of the vehicle, so I had to see what the trunk decal of a Chevy Bel Air looked like. So you see me scrolling through here trying to figure out what the what the trunk decal basically of the car looks like to add to my story. Yep. Writing is research, and good writing requires knowing your subject basically inside and out. And yeah, knowing a classic car decal is very important, obviously, just for that particular thing. Which is another reason why it's been advantageous that I now use the internet more with my writing. But for a lot of, at least for a couple years before I went through my writing slump, before this Write Every Day, I, for the most part, never went online when I wrote. I never had any kind of internet access with this computer to be able to kind of procrastinate. It was a good way of avoiding it. You don't got to deal with temptation. You don't have to, willpower your way out of temptation if temptation just simply isn't a feasible option to get to. And so it felt good, I guess, to go back, kind of full circle here. It definitely felt good to just have that feeling of being able to type out long sentences again on this keyboard. I'm looking forward to more days of that feeling, and there's going to be a lot going forward here. That's for sure. I only managed actually to get, I got like less than a page written today, to be honest. It wasn't a very productive day, but it was what I wrote was good. I'm still, like I said, as long as the quality of my words I'm proud of, that I'm not complaining, that I'm really not going to complain too much about how little I get done. I always talk about quality over quantity. I always say that. And so today was definitely a good day for the writing, and yeah, here's hoping that tomorrow goes as well.